So in this video we are going to discuss how should you conduct a privacy impact assessment so that you are able to find out and document any risk and find out ways to mitigate them before they actually happen. Welcome to my YouTube channel where you daily see new content on data privacy, and as I said, we are going to talk about how to conduct a privacy impact assessment in this video. So the first step in conducting a privacy impact assessment, and we spoke about this, a new project, new processing. In last video we discussed around 8-10 business trigger points as to when should you consider conducting a PIA. So first thing is to identify the need that you need to conduct a PIA. How would that happen? You are starting a new process, you are changing an existing process, there's a change in regulation. So if there's a change in regulation, you need to do PIA. End result could be that there's no need to change any processing activity as this change in regulation does not directly impact anything. But at least you need to assess and see if there is any issue. Whenever you are adopting new technologies, and we also spoke whenever you are retiring an old technology, like for example we talked about the example of an organization I know 15 years back dumping their storage, considering that it is gone, but someone hacking and reading all their credit card details around a large number of their customers from that storage, right? So whenever you are retiring old technologies, you should have the right process and you should do the right assessment to find out if you have the right process of getting rid of your old equipment. So what you should do is you should refer to your policy documents. What is it that you decided in your organization? How do you want your organization to function for a given function? And check what are the regulatory mandates. Map them together. This is my data. This is what I have promised, and these are the regulatory mandates. And when you are mapping them with regulatory mandates, you might end up finding out there are some regulatory mandates that you are not currently adhering to with respect to your processes, right? Once you have defined that need of conducting PIA, you need to define your scope, which is relatively simple. You need to relook at the entire data and see what data involves personal data, what activities also involve personal data, what is the sensitivity of that data, and which are the teams who are using that data, collecting that data. We have been talking about this, processing for Indian DPDP Act means you are collecting, storing, processing, sharing with third parties and deleting personal data. Then you are supposed to be compliant with DPDP Act, and that's what is called processing with reference to privacy in DPDP Act. Which systems and projects are involved, and then who are the stakeholders? Because stakeholders have a big role in PIA. We'll discuss in the next video on challenges of PIA. Stakeholders have a big role. They are the ones who have to set everything, coordination of teams, and also then post PIA they have to allocate budgets for the mitigation steps. What are the action plans that you take when you define the scope? Very big stress on identifying the respective stakeholders and consulting the respective teams who are handling the data. Then you need to do the mapping of the data, but all personal data. Just data is one thing, but all personal data is there. What is the type of that data collected? What is the flow of that data? We have had several examples all through my series of videos, now today being more than 201 video, that the smallest of things, like someone comes in and applies for a job and gets rejected, but you have collected his personal data. How is the data flowing, right? So you're saying collected resume, shared with the respective team head, called him for interview, he got rejected. Now what do you do of his resume? What is your policy? Are you going to retain it for 2 years? You are going to delete it in 6 months, or you are deleting it then and there? And is it actually getting executed, right? So from collection of information to disposal of information and who is accessing that information, all these things should be mapped. Maybe you use a data flow diagram tool. Maybe you buy a third party software that can help you, data mapping software that can help you map all this information. Okay. And after mapping all this information, document it properly, relook at it, talk to the respective teams to be sure that mapping is done properly. Then when you read them, you identify and you assess the risk. You evaluate your potential privacy risk. What level of authorization is given there? It could happen, that some administrative access or some access to some folders is given to people who don't need it, right? It could be a technical mistake also. You need to find out what all accesses are given. what all breaches have you ever seen, if any, in your organization, and what are the potential breaches that you now expect, looking at the kind of access and the kind of data flow that this could happen. Again, referring to the same example, if the respective HR person feels that this is a rejected candidate, his CV is not very critical for the organization and leaves it on table, right? And someone, a passerby, quickly picks up the name, photograph, address, phone number, date of birth, right? For what HR thinks is non-critical and therefore lying just like that on the table, someone might find some personal use of the personal data out there. So what is the process? Is it immediately turned away? Is it just turned away or shredded? So you need to find out, and help replace those processes and find out that what would have been a potential risk that if this data was lost, breached, then how could have people misused it? And if that breach was caught, then what could have been the impact on the organization? Use risk assessment matrices, create a chart, think about what problems could possibly happen and what should be the priority of resolving them, and prioritize them, right? Propose the mitigation strategies. In this small example, mitigation strategy is simple. You, at that time, you shred it off. If you are not shredding it off and it gets misused, just, you need to ensure that you have good, reasonable NDAs with your staff, not to misuse, and reasonable NDAs with your staff, not to allow leakages of things. Maybe a CCTV camera monitoring can help you catch from where the breach happened and how would you solve it technically and procedurally internally, and how would you inform the individual. This could be a low risk breach because here we are talking of only one user losing the data, but this was just for an example. So you review your technical controls, the data access and security policies, update your policies if they are required to, if you are adding up something new technically, train your employees on how they are supposed to handle them, and update your third-party contracts also. It might be a difficult and long-looking exercise. Once done for all existing processes, and even Indian DPDP Act says that you should do privacy assessments even for processes running prior to August 23 when the Act was passed. So once you start doing it, subsequent PIIs would be easier and the risk of assessment would be, risk of breach would be reduced. Right? Finally, you should close assessment and do follow-ups. You need to document all things. It has to be a detailed report which says what are the processing activities we do, how do we handle them, what are the potential risks, what are the priorities of those risks, based on the impact. Impact could be reputational, impact could be cost, impact could be a balance between cost and reputation. What are the mitigation strategies taken? What is the action plan with respective timelines and responsibilities? Present these reports to your stakeholders, get their approvals, and then keep performing the assessments regularly so that you are sure that whatever you thought of, whatever you implemented has been implemented, procedures have been corrected, and the risk of breach has been reduced. Monitor and document your mitigation strategies and processes. The key tips to your success when it comes to the privacy impact assessment is involvement of stakeholders, clarity on data processing activities. You should not miss it out. Sometimes you may not specialize yourself, but then you need to engage the teams who can help you find out whether the practices are correct or not. Absolute clear documentation that can help you even during assessments done by the regulators, and all actionables in our case should be very, very privacy focused. Personal data impacted is the basic logic of privacy and privacy related assessments. So that's about how to conduct a privacy assessment. We'll talk about some challenges in privacy assessments in our next video. Till that time, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, share your feedback in the comment section, and if you like this video, please press the bell and the like icon. Thank you.